The African sun blazes, it beats down on the endless plains. Here, life is a constant battle. A drama unfolds. Two brothers, Tau and Banda, step onto this grand stage. Their story is one of courage. It is a tale of survival. They are lions, young, fierce. Their journey begins now. It will shake the very earth beneath their paws. Destiny awaits these magnificent beasts. This wilderness, it is harsh, it is unforgiving, yet it is also beautiful. Tau and Banda were born into this world. They did not choose it, but they will conquer it. Their bond, a brotherly connection, will be their greatest weapon. Together they face a future filled with danger, filled with promise. Their legend starts not with a whisper, no, it starts with a roar that will echo across the savannah. The wind carries tales of past kings, of fallen heroes. Now new heroes rise. Tau, the thoughtful one, Banda, the impetuous. Different, yet so alike. They share a bloodline, they share a purpose, to survive, to dominate. Tau and Banda were born small, helpless almost. Their mother, a brave lioness, hid them well, deep in the tall grasses. This was a dangerous land. Their first breaths were filled with the scent of wild sage, and the scent of danger. Other lions roamed nearby, big males. They would not tolerate new cubs, not from another bloodline. Their cries were tiny, their future uncertain. The pride was not always a safe haven. It was a place of politics, a place of tension. The ruling males were strong, but they were also watchful, suspicious of any new threat. Hyenas lurked in the shadows, always waiting, always hungry. They would snatch a careless cub in a heartbeat. Starvation was a constant ghost. A dry season could mean less prey, less milk, a very real threat for growing cubs. Their early days were a blur of warmth. Their mother's warmth, her milk, her protection. They tumbled and played, practicing skills they would soon need. Little growls, playful pounces. But the world outside their den was harsh. One day, a brother vanished, taken by the night. Perhaps a snake, perhaps a hyena. Loss was an early lesson, a cruel teacher in this wild school. The dangers did not lessen, they grew. As Tau and Banda became bolder, they explored further. The world was a terrifying, exciting place. Rival males patrolled the pride's borders. Their roars were a constant reminder, a warning of the power that ruled. These males were a direct threat. If they found the cubs unprotected, their fate was sealed. The brothers instinctively knew to fear them, to avoid their scent, their imposing presence. One fateful day, tragedy struck the heart of their small family. A territorial fight erupted. New males challenged the pride leaders. The chaos was immense. Their mother fought fiercely to protect her remaining cubs, but the attackers were too strong, too many. In the aftermath, she was gone, vanished. Tau and Banda were alone, orphans in a hostile world. The pain of this loss was a deep wound, a scar that would shape them. The world became a colder place, sharper. Without their mother, hunger became a constant companion. The other lionesses in the pride had their own young. They offered little comfort, little food. The new pride males were a constant menace. They tolerated no reminders of the previous regime. Tau and Banda were growing, becoming subadults. They were no longer small cubs. They were seen as future rivals. Their presence became unbearable to the dominant males. The tension was thick, palpable. One day the ultimatum came, not in words, but in snarls, in violence. They were chased out, brutally. Their departure was not a choice, it was an expulsion. Forced out from the only home they had ever known. The plains stretched before them, vast, unfamiliar, frightening. They were nomads now, wanderers, without a territory, without the protection of a pride. Loneliness was a heavy cloak. The future, a terrifying blank canvas. What to do now? Where to go? These questions haunted their every step. Survival as nomads was a grim affair. Every day was a struggle for food, for water, for safety. They were in a no man's land. Trespassers in territories ruled by others. Established prides did not welcome strangers. Lone males or small coalitions were quick to defend their domains. Tau and Banda learned quickly. They had to. Resourcefulness became their new mother, their new protector. They learned to hunt smaller prey, warthogs, antelope calves, even birds if they were lucky. Each meal was a victory, hard won. They became experts at scavenging, following vultures, listening for the calls of jackals. This was not the life of kings, it was the life of survivors, a humbling, difficult existence. The constant threat of attack kept them alert, their senses sharpened. Every rustle in the grass, every distant roar, every shadow that moved, it could mean death. They slept in shifts, one brother always on guard. Their bond deepened with every shared danger, every narrow escape. Tau's keen eyesight and hearing, Banda's explosive power, they began to complement each other, instinctively, naturally. This was crucial for their survival. They faced ambushes, older, stronger nomads. They fought fiercely, not for territory but for their lives, for their next meal. These encounters, though terrifying, were also lessons. They learned to read an opponent's intent, to anticipate an attack, to use their combined strength. They were young. Their first significant battles were not for glory, not for territory, they were for food, a hard-earned kill, perhaps a young zebra or a wildebeest calf. Scavengers would arrive quickly, hyenas bold and numerous, jackals yipping nervously, even lone lions desperate and dangerous. Defending their meal was a brutal necessity. Tau and Banda learned to stand shoulder to shoulder, back to back, a wall of snarling fury. These fights were chaotic, vicious, claws flashed, teeth snapped, dust and blood mingled in the air. Tau, more strategic, would often identify the lead aggressor. He would try to isolate it. Banda, the powerhouse, would meet the charge head-on. His roars were surprisingly deep for his age, a sound of raw defiance. They took injuries, cuts, bites, but they held their ground. They had to. Losing a kill meant starvation. It was as simple as that. They learned that a united front was terrifying. Two young lions fighting as one could often deter a larger group of hyenas, or a single, older lion. Their coordination was not planned, it was instinctive, born of shared experience, shared desperation. One would feint, drawing the enemy's attention, the other would strike, a quick slash. Ambushes were a constant threat in the life of a nomad. Older, more experienced lions, sometimes coalitions of 2 or 3. They would lie in wait, near waterholes, along game trails. Tau and Banda developed a sixth sense for danger. Tau's ears would swivel, his eyes scanning every shadow. Banda would watch Tau. A subtle shift in his brother's posture was enough, a signal to be ready, to be alert. They survived several such ambushes, narrowly at times. These encounters honed their fighting skills. They learned to use the terrain, to back into dense bush, protecting their rear, to use their speed and agility against larger, slower opponents. Banda's ferocity was a shock tactic. He would explode into action, roaring, slashing. Tau would support him, attacking flanks, creating diversions. They were a whirlwind of youthful fury. Their dynamic as a fighting unit became truly remarkable. They moved as if connected by an invisible thread. No need for vocal commands. A glance, a subtle shift in weight. That was all it took. Years passed, years of wandering, of fighting, of surviving. Tau and Banda were now in their prime, magnificent, powerful. Their manes, though not yet full, were dark and imposing. They were tired of the nomadic life, the constant insecurity. They yearned for a territory, for a pride of their own. They began to search, to listen for the roars of established pride males, not to avoid them, but to assess them, to challenge them. They found what they were looking for, a large pride, several lionesses, many cubs, but ruled by an aging coalition, 2 old males, past their peak. Their roars lacked the thunder of youth. Their patrols were less frequent. Tau and Banda watched them for days, weeks even. They studied their movements, their weaknesses. The time for caution was over. The time for boldness had arrived. This was their chance, their moment. The challenge was brutal. It began at dawn. Tau and Banda strode into the heart of the territory, roaring their defiance. The old kings responded. They had to. Their pride was at stake. The fight was a maelstrom of violence. 4 massive lions locked in combat. Claws tore flesh. Teeth sought throats. The air filled with roars of pain, of fury. Banda, a whirlwind of power, fought with unmatched ferocity. Tau, cunning and strong, targeted the weaker of the 2 old males. With the pride secured, Tau and Banda's lives changed dramatically. No longer were they outcasts, they were rulers. The lionesses, after initial caution, accepted their new protectors. Soon, a new generation of cubs was born, sired by Tau, sired by Banda. These cubs were the future of their dynasty. The brothers defended them fiercely, against hyenas, against rogue males, against any threat. They were good fathers, strong providers. Their territory was vast, rich in prey. They patrolled its borders diligently. Their roars echoed across the plains each morning, Each evening, a declaration of their dominance, a warning to all intruders. Other lions learned to respect these boundaries. Hyena clans grew wary. The scent of Tau and Banda meant power. It meant danger for any who dared to challenge them. They commanded respect. They inspired fear. It was the way of the wild. Their reign was not one of constant violence, but of controlled power. They maintained order within the pride. They led successful hunts. They ensured the safety of their family. Tau, the strategist, often planned the hunts. Banda, the enforcer, ensured their success. Together they were an unbeatable combination. In the vast, sun-drenched plains of Africa, their names were once legend. Tau and Banda, two magnificent lion brothers. They ruled with an iron paw. Fear and respect followed them like shadows. Their roars echoed across the savannah, a declaration of their undisputed power. These were not just lions, they were kings. Their presence shaped the very landscape. They were the apex, the ultimate rulers of their domain. Other creatures knew to give them a wide berth always. Their prime was a golden age, truly, a time of strength and absolute dominance. Their kingdom stretched as far as the eye could see, from the whispering acacia woodlands to the open grasslands teeming with life. They patrolled these lands together, a united front. No challenger dared to face them then. But time, as it always does, began to weave its subtle patterns. The first signs of aging appeared, so slight at first, almost unnoticeable. A fractional slowing in Tau's powerful gait, a certain dullness creeping into Banda's once glossy, dark mane. These were whispers of the inevitable change, the relentless march of seasons. The sun rose and set, each day chipping away at their formidable strength. The kings were growing old, though their spirits still burned bright. Their legendary strength started to wane little by little. Hunts that were once effortless now demanded more cunning, more energy, and energy was becoming a precious commodity. Injuries, an occupational hazard for any lion, took longer to heal. Then, like shadows emerging from the long grass, younger lions appeared. Nomads, full of youthful vigor, their eyes burned with ambition. They were the new generation, hungry for power, hungry for territory. They began to test the borders of Tau and Banda's kingdom, tentative at first, then bolder. Their roars, though less experienced, carried a new challenge, a new threat on the horizon. The winds of change were blowing. The challenges started, not with a single decisive battle, but with a series of skirmishes. The lionesses, the heart of the pride, sensed the shift in power. Their instincts are ancient. Their primary concern is always the survival of their cubs, the future of their lineage. They need strong males to protect them, to ensure their offspring have the best chance. As Tau and Banda's grip weakened, the lionesses grew restless. Their loyalty, once unwavering, began to fray at the edges. This was a natural, if heartbreaking, progression. Some lionesses, perhaps the younger ones, started to stray. They were drawn inevitably to the raw power and vitality of the new males. It is the harsh law of the savannah. Strength attracts, strength ensures survival. The immense pressure, the constant battles, the loss of their pride. All these factors began to strain even the unbreakable bond between Tau and Banda. They had faced everything together, but now, a new kind of challenge emerged. The challenge of scarcity, of individual survival. They started hunting separately more often, not by choice perhaps, but by necessity. Each brother now had to look out for himself more and more. Injuries and persistent hunger led to increasing isolation. A wounded lion is a vulnerable lion. Banda, perhaps weakened more by past battles, had seen many seasons come and go. His once majestic form now bore the scars of countless confrontations. Or perhaps it was a more recent injury that had taken its toll on him. Banda was the first to fully succumb to solitude, a fate that awaited many old kings of the savannah. He sought refuge away from the main pathways where the grass grew tall and the shadows were long, away from the constant threat of younger, stronger rivals who now roamed the lands he once ruled. He was alone now, truly alone. The vast savannah, once his kingdom, now felt like an endless expanse of isolation. The familiar scent of his brother Tau was no longer a comfort nearby. The bond they shared had been a source of strength. Only the rustle of dry grass, whispering secrets of the past, and the distant calls of unfamiliar lions reached his ears. These sounds were a stark reminder of the life that continued without him. His world had shrunk considerably. The once vast territories he roamed were now reduced to small, confined spaces. His final days were a quiet struggle. Each step was a reminder of his fading strength. A search for meager scraps of food, a desperate attempt to sustain himself, a drink from a drying waterhole where the water was scarce and the land parched. His once powerful muscles were now thin, his ribs visible through his fur. His magnificent mane, once a symbol of his virility, was matted and dull, a shadow of its former glory. He likely carried with him vivid memories of glorious hunts, where he chased down prey with unmatched prowess, of fierce battles won alongside Tau, their roars echoing through the savannah, of the warmth of the pride, the camaraderie and the bonds that held them together. These memories were his only companions in the encroaching stillness. They were a bittersweet reminder of a life well lived. He found a secluded spot, perhaps under the shade of a familiar acacia tree, where he could rest and reflect on his journey. Tau, now the last of his line, was truly alone. The vast wilderness stretched out before him, an endless expanse of memories and echoes. Each step he took was heavy with the weight of the past, and the silence around him was deafening. The absence of Banda was a palpable void, a silence more profound than any he had ever known. The once vibrant plains filled with the sounds of life now seemed like a desolate wasteland. The sun setting on the horizon mirrored the fading light in Tau's eyes. For years his brother had been a constant presence, a scent, a sound, a reassuring shadow. Now there was nothing. He missed Banda deeply. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through countless battles and shared victories. Without Banda, Tau felt incomplete, like a part of his soul was missing. The great plains felt emptier, colder. The wind that once carried the roars of his pride now whispered tales of loss and solitude. The grass, which once danced under the feet of his kin, now lay still, as if mourning the absence of its rulers. The weight of his solitude was immense, a heavy cloak upon his aging shoulders. Each step was a struggle, each breath a reminder of his advancing age. The once mighty king of the savannah was now a weary traveler, burdened by the memories of a glorious past. He wandered the fringes of his lost kingdom, a ghost of his former self. The boundaries of his territory, once fiercely defended, now seemed like distant memories. The forest edge, where he once roamed with pride, now felt like the edge of the world. He saw the new kings, young and powerful, patrolling lands that were once his. Their strength and vigor were a stark contrast to his own frailty. They moved with confidence, unaware of the legacy that Tau had left behind. He heard their confident roars, he avoided them. The sound of their dominance was a painful reminder of his own decline. He chose solitude over confrontation, knowing that his time as a ruler had passed. There was no fight left in him, only the instinct to survive. The battles of the past had taken their toll, leaving him with scars both seen and unseen. Now, his only goal was to endure, to find peace in the twilight of his life, and the deep, aching memory of what had been, the days of glory, the nights of triumph, all seemed like distant dreams. The memories were bittersweet, a reminder of the life he once led and the brother he had lost. Each familiar landmark, each scent on the breeze, was a poignant reminder of his reign and of his brother. The land was filled with echoes of the past, each one a testament to the legacy of Tau and Banda. The scents carried stories of their adventures, their victories, and their bond. His own strength was fading rapidly. The once mighty lion who had ruled with an iron paw was now a shadow of his former self. The end was near, but Tau faced it with the dignity and grace of a true king. Though Tau and Banda had fallen, their story did not end there. Their legacy was far from over, as the echoes of their reign continued to reverberate through the savannah. Their impact on the land, on the lion society of this region, remained. The very fabric of the pride's existence was interwoven with the memories of these two formidable leaders. Their genes, the very essence of their strength and spirit, flowed on, carried in the bloodlines of new generations. Each cub, a living testament to their prowess, bore the mark of their lineage, for in their prime, they had sired many cubs. These young lions, full of energy and potential, were the future of the pride, the carriers of Tau and Banda's indomitable spirit. These cubs were their living legacy, a testament to their successful reign. Each playful pounce, each curious exploration was a tribute to the strength and wisdom of their sires. The cycle of life interrupted for them continued through their offspring. The savannah, ever-changing yet constant, bore witness to the continuation of their bloodline. Some of these young lions, descendants of the great Tau and Banda, now roam these very lands. They tread the same paths, hunt the same prey, and rest under the same skies. Perhaps some even hold territory within the boundaries of their father's former kingdom. The legacy of Tau and Banda is etched into the very soil, a silent testament to their reign. They carry within them a spark of that old majesty, a hint of that formidable power. The fire that once burned brightly in Tau and Banda now flickers in the eyes of their descendants. They might not know the names of their sires, but they are a part of their enduring story. Each step they take, each roar they unleash, is a continuation of the legacy. The spirit of the fallen kings lives on in their confident strides, in their youthful roars. The Savannah echoes with the sounds of their presence, a reminder of the past and a promise for the future. The Savannah always remembers its kings. Their scent may fade, but their influence remains, woven into the very fabric of the land. Their paw prints may be washed away by the rains, but the legacy of Tau and Banda endures, carried forward by the generations that follow. The vast territories that Tau and Banda once commanded are now ruled by others. New kings reign, new prides flourish. This is the eternal way of the wilderness. Power is never held for too long. It is a temporary stewardship. Life must always make way for new life. The Savannah continues its timeless rhythm, indifferent to the fate of individuals, yet shaped by their collective stories. The drama of succession plays out season after season, but the memory of Tau and Banda lingers. It whispers on the evening breeze. It can be sensed in the deep rumbling roar of a distant lion, echoing across the plains. It is there in the silent, watchful gaze of an old bull elephant who may have witnessed their reign. Their story is etched into the soul of this place. It serves as a reminder of the grandeur and the harsh beauty of life in the wild.